I want to show you guys that Jetstorm is alive. Oh, and just so you all know, Jetstorm has both legs now. He's still not Safeguard, but at least he has 2 legs. That's good. Hey guys, back again. Obviously today was Wednesday, so I went out and got myself quite a nice little haul of comic book Transformers related stuff. And today I am very excited to be reviewing All Hail Megatron number 10. Woo! Maximum Dinobots came out today too, but I'm not really caught up with that yet, obviously, so I won't be doing that review till like later. So All Hail Megatron 10. Yes. Obviously, I have a Trevor Hutchinson cover here. As always, these are my favorite of the series. I love these covers. I love how unique they are. And this one I think is fun. So yeah, it has a Megatron, because, you know, his name is in the title, and a Seeker. I'm guessing it's Starscream, but, you know, it could be like Acid Storm for all we know. We don't know. You know, but the Matrix, some random dude, maybe it's Charles, Earth, Decepticon symbol, and this funny pyre thing, and that's it. So yeah, I like this cover. It's a good cover. I like it a lot. So this issue starts out in New York, and I don't know how long after issue 9 issue 10 takes place. I'm guessing like not that long at all. But in issue 9, New York looked like, you know, New York, and in issue 10, New York looks like Cybertron stuff. Like, it no longer looks like a city on Earth. It does look like it'd be a city on Cybertron, and all, you know, all of the buildings are all very alien-esque, and I'm just wondering how quickly did these guys put this up? Like, they must be beasts of building, because this went up probably in like a day. But whatever, you know. It just looks really different. It doesn't make sense. So it starts off with Megatron and Bombshell, and they're looking at and talking about this successful first space bridge that they built. In general, Megatron really seems to have a thing with space bridges. Like, a lot. And Megatron's basically just, you know, praising Bombshell for all the technological stuff that he's been doing. They talk about Bombshell's use of the Headmaster technology, which is kind of interesting. And Megatron's really sweet-talking Bombshell, only to turn around and say something along the lines of, I knew you would eventually pose a threat. And Bombshell's like, what? And Megatron says, you may be a genius, Bombshell, but never forget I created you. And never forget, Megatron sees all. Dun dun dun. And we see Starscream and the other Insecticons, and Megatron says, and so it begins. So that's an interesting little scene. And then we go back to Cybertron and have a few interesting little scenes, actually. The first is between Roadbuster and Wheeljack, and they're talking about this gun that they've gotten off the Tryon, and Wheeljack's just trying to explain to Roadbuster, you know, it only has a few shots in it, it's not meant to be off the ship, and Roadbuster is, like, in love with the gun, and he thinks that they should give it a name. Okay, Roadbuster, you go name that gun. This is weird. And then we have a quick little snippet between Prowl and Jazz is like, you know, how is this looking? And Prowl is basically saying that they don't have a very good chance of succeeding, and Jazz is like, you should probably keep that to yourself, because that's not going to help anybody. And then we have a little bit between Ironhide and Optimus about them being friends. You know, and Ironhide's just like, Optimus, you're the greatest bot I've ever known. And Optimus is like, that's funny, because you totally hated me when we first met, and we have a nice little snippet of them being buddies. Okay, and then here's the part where my brain wanted to explode. Okay, so we see Kup talking to Optimus, and of course Kup has that cigar that he has had for the last 9 issues. He's had that cigar, and I've talked about that cigar, and I think the cigar's dumb, but just wait. So Trax asks Optimus if he's scared, which is what an awesome thing to ask. And Optimus says, "Let me put it this way, I'd rather face this than take up one of Cup's drills." Okay, that line's kind of weird. But, if you look behind Optimus, there is Cup. With no cigar. No cigar in Cup's mouth. I don't think you can see, but I don't care. Not only does he not have his cigar in that panel, we never see it ever again. What? Okay, I know this is probably something that only I care about, but come on. Cup has had that cigar for the past, like, 9 issues. And Ironhide actually brought it up in the last issue. He specifically mentioned it. And now it's randomly disappeared with no explanation at all. Cup had it 2 panels ago, and now it's gone, and it never comes back, and no one says why. I think I'm actually sad now that the cigar is gone. I just want to know what happened to the cigar. I just want to know. But whatever. I've talked about it for too long now. Anyway, away from that. We then see that the swarm is very quickly heading towards where the Autobots are. And Cliffjumper just says, "Here we go," and they start fighting off the swarm. And then we go back to Earth, and we see Megatron kind of being electrocuted by shrapnel. So yeah, Starscream has dissented. I am so surprised. And of course, the Insecticons are like his little followers. And we get some nice dialogue from Starscream. He's basically saying that ever since the Decepticons defeated the Autobots, Megatron really has had nothing to do, and he's been lost and directionless. And Megatron says, "No, I haven't been stalling, I've been waiting for you to make a decision." And Megatron says, "Well, those who are loyal to me, I've been using them, like Soundwave, for instance, to watch you and to spy on you and to see which side you choose." And Starscream says, "I'm not choosing a side other than the Decepticon side." And I really like this bit where it really isn't Starscream versus Megatron. It's Starscream, seems to be that Starscream is really believing in what he thinks the Decepticons should be, and the fact that Megatron is not taking them there. And what's really interesting is Megatron then turns around and says, "You know what, Starscream, you just do not understand how it works. I did what I needed to win, and you just use cunning to, like, trick people into following you. I get people to, like, legit follow me, and none of my followers are going to turn around and follow you now." And Starscream's like, "You know, are you sure about that, Megatron?" And then Megatron turns around and sees all the Constructicons, and Scrapper very sarcastically says, "All hail Megatron." Yeah. So what I'm guessing we can assume from this is the mysterious person, or it seems persons, that Starscream was talking to in issue 8 was most likely the Constructicons, who have now turned against Megatron. Dude. And then we go back to Cybertron and we see the Autobots fighting off the swarm. And man, there is a lot of these things. It is very obvious that the Autobots are overpowered. Then we see Ironhide, who is obviously fighting off some swarm members. And as he's fighting, this gun, like, falls on top of one of them. And Ironhide's like, "Mirage?" And then Mirage, like, stops being invisible and says, "Shut up and run." And Ironhide's like, "Not in a million years." And they fight them together. That's sweet. And then we see that really the Autobots are totally being overrun by the swarm. There is not enough Autobots to take these things out. And then there's this giant Krazoom, so says the little sound effects speech thing. And Bumblebee just looks up and says, "You've got to be kidding me." Which is exactly what I thought when I saw Omega Supreme. What? Omega Supreme, apparently, comes out of nowhere and starts taking out swarm members like there's no tomorrow. Omega Supreme. I don't know.